J-Side on the decks. Leeds, Liverpool, Dublin to London. Dermo! In the pub with the Spurs shirt tight, talking about trophies every Friday night. Silver hair shining underneath the light. Irish silver fox feeling dynamite. Guinness in hand, giving it the big un. Says this is our year. Every single season, dancing on tables, causing pure scenes. Believes Ant Ball runs the football machine. He's loud, he's proud, he's chatting all night. North London dreams underneath neon lights. From Dublin bars to White Hart Lane, Dermo brings the party again. Dermo the Tottenham fan, Irish silver fox, he's the king of the dance. Hands in the air when the bass line drops, singing, come on you Spurs! Non-stop, Dermo the Tottenham fan, moonwalking sideways with a pint in his hand. Silver fox swagger all over the floor, everybody screaming, one more. Silver fox in the rave tonight. Dermo got the place alight. Come on, you Spurs tonight. Silver fox under the lights. Just from lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
Welcome to Football Not Soccer Podcast. Yes, FIFA are at it again. Yeah, they are. Because apparently there's still a few days left in the calendar without a football tournament attached to them. More matches, more teams, more sponsors, more tickets, more money. FIFA won't stop until the World Cup lasts 11 months and the final is played during Christmas dinner. Infantino probably sitting in his office right now looking at a map thinking, can we fit another Club World Cup in there? Maybe in 96 tournament on the moon. But this time, yes, this time, guys, UEFA said, we've had enough. No, we've had enough. UEFA have looked at FIFA straight in the eye and basically said, feck off, FIFA. We've already got too many games. Besides, taking all the money is our job. So now we've got your FIFA and UEFA fighting over the future of football, not because they care about the players, the supporters, or the clubs. Nah, they don't care all about that. They're fighting over the only thing that truly matters to football governing bodies, money. Who gets the biggest suitcase full of cash? Welcome to modern football, where players are exhausted, fans are broke, and the men in the suits are, well, sort of absolutely delighted. But welcome to the third episode of Football Not Soccer podcast with me, Dermo from THFC to Die, and also Steve from Stateside Footy over in the... Don't take this wrong, Steve. The second greatest country in the world, America, after Ireland. I'm sure Steve will have a different view on that opinion. How are you, bud? Great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. And by the way, I must say that I do approve of the intro music. That goal from David Ginola as he weaves through four defenders to score that goal. I remember that goal, and I'm glad that you included it. But yes, I do take umbrage. That you said that Ireland is the best country in the world. I know for a fact that they're not even in the top 5. I'm just messing around with you guys. I hope everybody's great over there across the pond in the UK, especially in Ireland. I hope you guys are doing great today.
Me and Steve have just started an absolute international crisis between Ireland and the US now. You can see Mia Martin and Donald Trump having crisis talks at the moment.
Next thing you know, next thing you know, troops are going to be deployed over like the dumbest way to get into a war. We're better. No.
Yeah.
Less filling tastes great.
Yeah, we're better. We have the better drink over here. No, we have the better food. Right, let's go to war. Right. Let's welcome a few people in, Steve, and we'll crack on with it. Big up to Lucky Singh, who's put about 1,000 messages in. Big up to you. He says, Joshua Zachary, Juventus, if you want him loan today, buy 5 million. Okay. Big up to you. FIFA, I'm pleased Europe said no to World Cup. Big up to Stephen Cartwright. Big up to you, Stephen. Hope you're doing well. Good afternoon, Dermo and chat. Hope we're all well. Did FIFA ever have a soul? No, they didn't. Big up to Lucky Singh, who's put more messages in than Aaron Fint, the FIFA president, has put messages to the rest of the FIFA congregation saying, would you like more money? Big up to you. Steve, biggest question, I think we should start with it. Has FIFA lost its soul? Look, as Stephen said, did FIFA ever have a soul?
Well, here's the thing. They look at the last 2 World Cups in, I guess you can say, a vacuum, and they said, okay, listen, 2022 we made $7.5 billion. This time around, they made $15 billion, and they're looking at this as a commercial vehicle. Now, one of the things that I've been hearing is that whether you're the UEFA Confederation, whether you're CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, whatever the case may be, I guess you can say the outlying tag that they're using in some of these statements is that you don't own football, you're just a steward of football. And make no mistake, FIFA, the World Cup is FIFA's. They are not only the stewards, but they are the owners of the FIFA World Cup. They're the owners of the FIFA Club World Cup, the Women's World Cup. All the Youth International World Cups are all FIFA's. And so from that standpoint, they have the wherewithal to make as much money off their tournaments as possible. That's the first thing. Now, the interesting thing about UEFA is that UEFA is also a governing body of the European Confederation, and they themselves also want to make money as well too. Like that's what people are missing here, is that the Euros are theirs. Now, are they going to go so far as to spin off a division for their commercial revenue? Probably not. But would you put it past UEFA to try to do this exact same thing? I wouldn't. Because CONCACAF has already done it. That's why they have Soccer United Marketing. They are responsible for the commercial vehicle of not only U.S. soccer, but Major League Soccer, the federation of the Mexican Federation and the Mexican national team as well too. CONCACAF has already done it, and nobody seems to have a problem when CONCACAF did it. So the interesting thing here is I personally believe that this was UEFA getting in front of FIFA. Right, word leaked to UEFA that they were going to do this, and I personally believe that FIFA was not going to make this public right away. It was UEFA was the one that leaked it, and they were the ones that were leading the charge to the point where, I heard this rumor that not only would UEFA boycott the next two World Cups, but they would also run concurrently. They would change the schedule of the Euros to run at the same time as the World Cup, but also include those nations that boycotted the World Cup. So could you imagine an expanded Euros where it involved the US and Canada and Argentina and Brazil, essentially rendering the World Cup completely useless, right?
Yeah.
Like that was for me, this was advantageous of UEFA, not necessarily FIFA. Because at the end of the day, we understand that FIFA historically has been corrupt to begin with anyways. This is just par for the course for FIFA.
Well, look, look, firstly, I'm glad that, right, I'm glad UEFA are actually finding a pair of balls and standing up to FIFA, right? I don't like the FIFA president. I think FIFA's been corrupt since 1974, since Havelange took over. And then that's when the corruption, I think, within FIFA started, and that's when there's a good movie on YouTube with which the late Sean, I forget his second name, stars actually as Havelange in it. It's a story about FIFA, so it goes from the start of FIFA right up to 1998.
I've actually seen it. It's a great documentary. I've seen it.
Yeah, and it shows then, even in 74, with them trying to get in bed with Adidas and doing the World Cup in Argentina, there's always money and corruption.
Sure.
FIFA, for myself, is not the same FIFA it was before Havelange. FIFA before was all about football, and maybe it was a room of really stuffy men that didn't care about anyone by themselves, but they had the game's best interests at heart. FIFA doesn't. UEFA don't. UEFA are a bunch of hypocrites, bunch of corrupt individuals as well. You look at now, we know Michel Platini was found not guilty of any wrongdoing, but again, it's always you look at the Super League, you look at the Champions League. The Champions League is the Super League. It's not any different. Yeah. It's the same thing. And football in itself has become more corrupt over the years. You look at the Man City debacle. You look at Italian football in the 90s with other clubs. Look, Juventus getting done for match fixing. Football itself, at the heart of football, there's always going to be corruption. Is this bigger than FIFA, though, Steve? What's happening? And we know we will get into what FIFA were proposing, but as itself, as the football as a whole, I think football lost its soul a long time ago. I think football as itself, as a collective sport, I think it's the most corrupt sport in the world. Maybe boxing after that probably can come close to it. But I think football, like sports in America, baseball, American football, right? And basketball. Am I right to say I've never heard any corruption in any of them sports in America? All motorsport, like I'm a big motorsport fan. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever heard of any big scandals in American sport?
Outside of the refereeing scandal about 10 years ago with an NBA referee, no, not really. Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to come down to the leagues in itself that police itself actually incredibly well. Like they do not put up anything. They do not put up with any shit that does anything to tarnish the reputation of their brands, right? And so they have strict moral codes in place, and it's essentially zero tolerance when it comes to that. So, what I will say is that American sports is all about commercial revenue. When you look at the way that the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, what they do incredibly well is commercially sell their league. And because of it, they bring in billions of dollars. And when you look at where football changed, It was when European leagues started looking at American sports more closely, not necessarily because of the closed league system, although I do believe that European leagues, if they actually had their choice, they would actually close it because it makes it easier for them to make money. Mm-hmm. But the reality is they looked at their commercial revenue departments, and now all you're starting to see is once the Premier League got its footing, their TV deals were not drawn in millions, but billions. And when you look at individual clubs within the Premier League, look at what they're doing. They're touring every single summer. They're creating new fans everywhere around the globe. And because of the exposure that the Premier League has able to cultivate, now all of a sudden clubs, like Spurs, this is a good example of it. Spurs, who rarely come to the United States, they actually have more supporters groups in the United States than they do in England. Right. And that is all because of what they do now, which is all about their commercial revenue. They tour in Australia, they tour in Asia, these type of things. And you're starting to see leagues and teams across the European continent do the exact same thing, because it's like those type of money drivers are what has now became the engine for every single major club, where before it was all based on match day revenue. Now it is all about sponsorships and being able to have those commercial drivers. And when you say that football has kind of corrupted itself, well, when there is such a huge pot of money, then you get agents looking for a slice of, agents are looking for their piece. Yeah. Players are looking for their piece, and even governing bodies are looking at it now like, okay, great. Well, if leagues are able to do it, we're going to be able to do it. And this is now what drives football. It is not about the competition, because if it was about the competition, the players wouldn't be playing so many goddamn games as they're doing right now. It is about how much money can we extract from this equation, right? And when you're looking at this FIFA thing, right, one of the biggest drivers of this spinoff was commercial revenue, and also taking certain nations away from the World Cup as far as hosting, because you can understand that there would be more World Cups in countries that actually can generate more money. So the United States, the UK, France, Germany, Spain. It's like those countries that actually have that concentrated pocket of wealth where you can conceivably drive up ticket prices. That's all they're going to be interested about.
You're right. And if you look at the next World Cup, right, 6 hosts, right? 6 hosts. Is that really looking after play welfare? No, it's not. It's looking after how much money we can spin off this. Yeah. I grant you it's the 100th anniversary of the World Cup, first ever World Cup. I grant you that, okay? And I understand you're going to have to
then hold it in South America.
Then have it in Uruguay, Brazil, and Argentina, or hold it over there.
Correct, right? So you're exactly right. You don't need to have it in Spain and Morocco and Portugal. It's either have it there or have it in South America. Yeah. You can't have 6 different nations, because after that first initial couple of games, then these players got to fly back over the Atlantic to join the rest of the tournament in Europe. It just makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And again, talking about money, right, Steve? I just looked at the new TV rights deal, right, for the Premier League. So we use Premier League example, right? Okay. 6.7 billion for the next round of TV rights. Yeah. If I'm right, the first lot, I'm trying to find how much the first Premier League rights. I will ask, has football in itself?
It was 300 million. The first for the 92-93 season, the first ever, it was 300 million from Sky. Yeah.
Well, that proves in itself, doesn't it, how much football has expanded, how much football has grown, how much football has exploded. But again, it's being run by television companies, isn't it?
Correct.
What happens if Sky was to pull out the Premier League? Or, I mean, we are talking about FIFA wanting to put the World Cup behind the paywall. So are we looking at the 2034 World Cup being on Sky? I mean, for me, that would finish it all for me. I wouldn't be bothered with the World Cup anymore if that's the case. Because the World Cup's supposed to be free for air.
I think the interesting thing is if all television companies backed out, then they'd probably be in a pickle. But you understand how this goes, right? Like if there's going to be a company that's not going to bid on it because of moral reasons or ethical reasons, there's always going to be another TV company that's going to be like, all right, dude, I'll give you $3 billion for the rights to host. Like there's always going to be somebody that will pony up.
Yeah, well, I mean, Snipers is right here. You win it, you host it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
I like
technically,
it.
Spain, I do. Well, technically, Spain are hosting the World Cup in 4 years' time. So basically, they've won it. They're going to host it anywhere. But
well,
I don't get it.
You look at 2022, which was in Qatar, which the wheels got greased to FIFA. There was no discerning reason for holding that World Cup in Qatar. Obviously. And I think they actually went unchallenged because there was enough money passed around in order for that one to happen. And it's the exact same thing. There's no reason why it needs to go back to the Middle East 8 years later. And Saudi Arabia greased enough wheels where they went unchallenged for that 2034 World Cup, right? So, you like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, I kind of like this. You win it, you host it, right? So if Spain wins it, they host it, and then the next, right? The problem is there's only been 8 teams to win the World Cup, so conceivably those 8 teams will have a good chance of winning it. So it won't go to a new area. But think of it this way: South Korea and Japan hosted it in 2022 or 2002. They have yet to go back to Asia. Australia has never hosted the World Cup, right? No. It is going, essentially what has happened now is that the World Cup has essentially gone to the highest bidder.
Yeah. It's not what it used to be.
Correct.
It's not. I mean, you also look at it, Steve, in a way of the World Cup. The World Cup always went to a country that has football heritage. It's went to England, Germany. It's helped soccer in America in the 90s, which started off the MLS, which kicked rollerball. It started there. It's been in Argentina, it's been in Brazil, it's been in Uruguay, it's been in Italy. No disrespect to Qatar and no disrespect to Saudi Arabia. Same thing happened in 2018 with Russia.
Yep.
Everyone expected it to go, where was the World Cup? Everyone expected it to go to England. And where did it go to? Do you remember? It was, everyone was damn sure it's going to be held. I think it was Qatar. I think I'm right.
I think
but Russia was the same. Russia was the same. It's about as much money you can grease the wheel. So let's talk about FIFA and what's happened over the last week. We know this World Cup was a successful World Cup, I have to say. So we are trying to leave the footballing side of the success out of it, because I think that's not fair to tarnish the football success that the World Cup brought to America, Mexico, and Canada.
I would agree.
Look at the hydration breaks. Again, FIFA saying to television companies, that's okay. We'll work around you. You do your advertising, and we'll have to have some break. It's normal in American sports to have breaks. American football, ice hockey, basketball. It's normal. It's woven into American sports psyche. And that's no disrespect to you, Steve. That's how you do stuff. That's how you do it in America. And good luck to you. And that's how you do it. You do it that way, and nobody bats an eyelid. When you start trying to bring it into soccer or football, where you know the rules, 45 minutes each side, a 15-minute break. I mean, people have blamed America for it, and I think it's wrong. Again, it's FIFA, isn't it? Turn into the TV companies. You give us an extra couple of billion, and we'll do whatever you want. You look, everyone blamed Sepp Blatter, right, for being corrupt. Havelange was corrupt. Sepp Blatter was corrupt. Infantino's is the same as Blatter, isn't he? So nothing's changed over the last 3 presidencies of FIFA. Everything's the same. So
I would probably agree with that, because his power base of small nations, that actually was the consortium of the reason why he got elevated to president, and the reason why he got elected again without any challenge, is because there is enough money that are exchanging hands. And so from that standpoint, you can understand why Infantino has the power that he does. But the interesting thing about this, what was alleged with this spinoff, right? And a lot of people will blame Donald Trump, although I know for a fact that Donald Trump was not involved. The only connection is that his daughter, the person that is leading this private equity, is the brother-in-law to Ivanka Trump, the daughter of Donald Trump, right? And it's one of the Kushner brothers that are involved in this. And the interesting thing about this is that this was trading consolidated power, because I think Infantino makes about $6 million a year as FIFA president. That a part of this deal, there would be it was called the FIFA something whatever. It's like the spinoff company that would have been in charge of the commercialization of FIFA tournaments. And the thing about this is that Infantino, in order to facilitate it, not only would he get an upfront cash windfall from this deal, but he would be made in charge of this actual spinoff. So he would be trading essentially the FIFA presidency, where he's making 6, to take over this subsidiary of FIFA, essentially expanding his power. And he would be making something of close to like 20 million a year, being in charge of this commercial vehicle, meaning that his roots and his ties would grow deeper into FIFA. And so essentially he would be trading up. He would be more powerful than the FIFA president. And that to me was the crux of this that I personally didn't like, because this is essentially Gianni Infantino understanding where the trends of this is going, and he himself would have made out even more. This is essentially trading up for greed, and this is something where UEFA didn't like it, CONCACAF didn't like it. We didn't hear from CONMEBOL, but we did hear from the Asian confederations, and they didn't like it as well too, because I think they looked at this as the last thing they want to do is have Gianni Infantino being more powerful than FIFA itself. And that's, for me, that is much. This is worse than Sepp Blatter bribing nations, right? And by the way, that was bad. Sepp Blatter, like, not only was there so much corruption that the U.S. FBI got involved, and they actually indicted like multiple members of the FIFA executive team for bribery, but it also is worse than the bribery of João Havelange back in the day, right? So to me, this is a lot worse, because you're essentially consolidating your power and making yourself bigger than the sport itself.
I mean, look, let's get a few comments here. Big up to Philip. FIFA has finished it off. Interfina goes. Agree 100%. The FIFA president used to use EasyJets. Now he goes by Learjets, financed by Qatar. Philip here, tongue-in-cheek, I know he is. Big up, Philip. Most predictable thing about FIFA, I love, is Trump denying knew anything about it. I've got a theory about Trump, so I'm going to go back to that.
Go ahead.
Sepp Blatter is like Mother Teresa
compared to Gianni Infantino. I love it.
I do. Look, I slightly agree with you that probably Trump has nothing to do with it, but I always say
there's connections in there. There's definitely a connection, just based off the fact that it's his daughter's brother-in-law. Yeah. Like, there is a definite connection. Would I say that Donald Trump knew about it? 100%. But was he involved in the negotiations? I highly doubt that.
I please don't take offense by this, Steve. He's your president, and every president of any country should be respected. But it reminds me, Donald Trump, a leader of a massive mafia organization, where he's the octopus, and there's plenty of tentacles. Please don't take offense to that. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to, in my head, trying to explain it in a good way, that he may be the head of the company, but people below him are doing things that he may say, oh yes, he might sign 1,000 papers a day. Something's put in front of him. Oh, we're going to do this, boss. Yep, fine, Mr. President. He doesn't look into it fully. And he doesn't know, but he's linked by association, if you know what I mean, if that makes sort of sense. But he did get involved in the World Cup. He did get a red card rescinded. He did ring up the FIFA president. The FIFA president, no disrespect to President Trump, FIFA president should have said, sorry, President Trump, rules are rules.
Exactly.
This is our rules, we stick it. So it doesn't help the FIFA president knowing that there is evidence there that he can be led by nations, presidents, and prime ministers or whatever. In the rule of thumb, he's now unfit for office. So surely the best thing for the FIFA president to do, if he's to save football, save FIFA itself, is resign. The longer he stays in the job, the longer FIFA gets tarnished. The reputation of FIFA gets even more shredded than it already is. And, I mean, does FIFA have to be ripped down and started again, Steve? Because I think that's the only way that FIFA can regain any trust or any sort of trust within any governing bodies and the trust of the fans, how they rule football. I mean, how would you rebuild FIFA? How would you rebuild the FIFA organization?
That's a very good question, because when money involved, you can't necessarily trust the character of human beings, right? We are naturally inclined to be greedy. Let's be understand. Like, we are very emotional beings. We're emotional creatures, and sometimes our emotions get the best of us. Point in case, Gianni Infantino, right? The want and the need for power and greed is something that motivates Gianni Infantino. But here's what I will say is that the Trump Infantino, I guess you can say, relationship isn't really much of a relationship. And understand that the only reason why those two were sidling up each other is because it was financially beneficial for both. From the FIFA side, they were able to draw $15 billion in revenue. And for the United States itself was the fact that you had so many people come into the country that our economy was going to absolutely, mushroom and balloon during the time of the World Cup was being there. So it was mutually beneficial for both sides. I actually have it on good authority that Donald Trump really doesn't care too much for Gianni Infantino, because he's just, he's something that I don't think our president necessarily really cares about. But what I will say is that it would take FIFA. Number one, the FIFA Council has to, in order for Gianni Infantino to, I guess, be fired, you're going to have to get half of the FIFA Council to agree to it. I don't see that ever happening. And I would agree, because there's too much money involved when it comes to Gianni Infantino. He essentially has a power base that's kind of funny.
It is funny. Pick up anyone, just very quickly, Steve. Anyone know why I'm giggling and Philip's giggling and Steve gets it? It's John Delaney. John Delaney was the most corrupt Irish football person in Ireland. He was the one that actually held a James Bond theme party for his 50th.
That's why it's funny, because it's like, that makes it better. But the interesting thing is, Gianni Infantino has greased the wheels so well when it comes to the executive board, and also certain nations when it comes to voting, that there's a reason why that's why he was elected again unencumbered. There was nobody running against him. And it's because that he has done his job so effectively that the powers that be within FIFA will never vote him out. No. Unless they know that there's somebody unless there's somebody better on the backside that's going to make them richer. Right. So essentially what has to happen is there has to be an emergency meeting of all 211 nations. And they have to bring up I guess you can say, an emergency order to have him fired. But you're right. The only way
a vote of no confidence.
A vote of no confidence. There you go. And the only way that you get Gianni Infantino out right now is if he resigns. But if he resigns, there has to be a golden parachute. Because Gianni Infantino is not going to resign unless there's money involved. That's the first thing. But the other thing is, I personally believe there's enough nations that actually like him, that he's going to stay in his position. But that leads me to believe that, yes, to your question, FIFA has to be torn down and reorganized. And if this is a situation where maybe even nations get involved, governments get involved, I personally don't like that, because I don't trust any government. So you would have to find people that would work in the best interest of the game, where money is not necessarily the priority. And good luck finding those people these days. With the money that's involved, good luck finding those people.
Yeah. Well, in the last sort of 24, 48 hours, UEFA have come out with a statement stating we have no confidence within the FIFA president. I think CONCACAF as well has come out and said, mirroring off the same thing. You got the South American body saying, look, we need to look at this more. You got, I think Asia has come out and stood side by side with UEFA. Now, the simplest solution would be compel Infantino to step down from his role. He's acquired for 10 years. Failing that, they would have to acquire 43 of FIFA's 211 associations to request an emergency Congress in order to conduct a vote of no confidence in Infantino's leadership. Now we know UEFA have 55 block votes. So already they got enough to.
CONCACAF has 41, 41 nations, and I believe the Asian Federation has 44. And so right there, that's 100, and I think that's kind of, you're pushing into the 120. So you have more than half right there.
Yeah.
But also, as we were talking prior to this, certain CONCACAF nations are not on board. Mexico has said we're going to take a wait and see approach, meaning they're holding out for the money. And I would assume that smaller nations like Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, that gets a lot of their operating budget from FIFA, doesn't necessarily want to bite the hand that feeds them, because it means money for their federations.
And
right?
No disrespect, Argentina as well will probably be backing him as well, because we know they got a lot of favors over the last 2 World Cups. Brazil as well. I don't know about Brazil. I'm a bit undecided of Brazil at the moment. And you're looking at Colombia, you're looking at other South American nations that don't get to World Cups a lot, never hosted the World Cup, but FIFA do help out with little.
Yeah. Well, for instance, let's say that you're Colombia, okay? Yeah. And your yearly operating budget, 40 to 50% of it comes from FIFA. Maybe that's $25 million. But you take that money away, and there is no money for infrastructure upgrades. There's no money to build pitches in the communities. You know what I mean? Like there is going to be no infrastructure money for these nations, these poor nations, right? And so you can understand why these nations feel like they're being held hostage for a vote of no confidence, because it's like, well, wait a second, where are we going to make up the difference? Because we don't, for instance, we don't have a Soccer United Marketing, which is the commercial vehicle for the United States and Mexico, where they're the ones that sell the commercial rights, which means, the United States gets, $50 million a year just for laying in the cut. And it's like that $50 million goes to a lot of different programs to build soccer pitches and communities and certain things like that. And you take that money away. Now, the United States can probably make that money back up. But if you're Colombia and you don't have that commercial arm, it's like, where are you going to make up the difference, right? And so you can understand while they're like the smaller community, smaller countries are like, wait a second, like is our back end going to be covered here? And if it's not, then you know what I mean. Like that's going to. I
agree.
Right. And I feel for these smaller countries. I really do. Like if you're New Zealand, it's like good luck, right? So it's I feel bad for these smaller countries that they're kind of being having a gun put to their head. But that being said, you have to ask the question: is like moving forward, what is the best thing for this sport moving forward? Is it FIFA making billions of dollars a year, or is it the, I guess you can say, the integrity of the sport, which is more important to some of these nations?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think it's more money in their hip pocket than the integrity of the sport. I want to read very quickly UEFA's statement that was put out yesterday, because I won't read it all, but there's other bits in it that is really interesting how they are. It says, this was a statement put out yesterday: we cannot keep going on like this with secret schemes on fast-track timescales cooked up by faceless individuals and dubious benefit to the game. We must identify those responsible and hold them account. Hypocrites, because you look at Super League, and it took a long time for UEFA to get their ass into gear. Is it right and is it right that in the coming days and weeks UEFA will work with its associations in close cooperation with other corporations to reflect on how this happens and devise a plan to make sure that it cannot occur again? It goes in, it says, when Gianni Infantino asked for trust and votes of FIFA members, associated elected him as president in 2016, he said, of course, we have to be transparent. I've been this in the last 15 years of my life to UEFA. You will have to play a part every day in the life of FIFA for telling the assembly stakeholders the money of FIFA is your money. It's not the money of the FIFA president. It's your money. You are National Association, and money of FIFA has to serve for the development of football, not for anything. Just on that bit of the statement, Steve, he's really become a hypocrite, hasn't he? Because it's like running for a political office, isn't it? You're going to say anything to get voted in, but once you get into office, you're going to do the absolute opposite to what your manifesto was. So do you think in that bit of a statement there, he's just playing to the crowds, he's just playing to the audience, and saying the right things because he knows I'm going to get voted, so I have to say the right things. I don't think he did anything that sort of spectacular when he was in FIFA, when he was in UEFA, to be fair.
Right.
Do you know?
I know what you. I call bullshit on. Yeah, I call bullshit on UEFA, and I call major bullshit on UEFA because this was the same organizing body. Excuse me, I can't speak English. That was trying to get the Super League established in Europe and having the 8 biggest grossing clubs across Europe to compete in a closed league that would have seen UEFA get an unbelievable windfall, even more so than it would be for the Euros. And so, from that standpoint, I find it very advantageous that UEFA is leading is essentially banging the drum against Infantino when they themselves had literally were trying to do something that I wouldn't say is the exact same thing, but something that is very similar, where they would have done the exact same thing if the Super League had come to fruition, because they would have spun that off as well too, and and the commercial revenues that were attached to the Super League would have been so absolutely obscene that it literally would have dwarfed the commercialization of the Euros, their own tournament, right? So from that standpoint, like I look at UEFA and I'm like, yeah, come on, man, you can't sell it. That's the thing. It's like, now here's the thing. To what end is UEFA doing this, right? So for for me, it's like as bad as it look it is for Infantino and for FIFA. To me personally, I think UEFA looks equally as bad. Maybe that's just my my personal belief.
I think you're right, because you look at Super League and you look and you go by the player welfare and all this. They are hypocrites in what they're saying.
Yeah.
It goes on to say on both of these promises, he's failed to deliver the shabby backroom operating deals he hatched, tried to force through with anything but transparent. With reserves standing over $5 billion, he's also failed to use association money for the benefit of the game. UEFA will begin work immediately with partners and stakeholders all over the world, right across the game, to propose a new way of distributing resources, though existing FIFA Forward program. It ends with
I got a quick question for you, and I apologize for interrupting. But what happened if Infantino? What would have happened if Infantino and FIFA were transparent? And they actually slow rolled this out a year, and they got every single confederation and member nation on, and they were completely transparent of what they were going to do. What would have, do you think UEFA and CONCACAF and the Asian Confederation and Oceania would have been like, oh, this is a great idea? Or do you think there still would have been pushback?
Do you know what? I don't know.
That's a great question. What if there was transparency?
I don't know if people have a problem for how it was done. Do you know what? I don't think UEFA would have had a problem. I think there would have been pushback. Of course, there would have been by certain individuals. There would have been pushback.
They would have negotiated a bigger cut of the pie.
Yeah.
That's where I think the problem lies, is the money that was going to individual nations and confederations. Yeah. Right. I think the thing that Infantino did was essentially strong arm nations and said, hey, you got until September to accept this deal, or your money is going to go from 40 to 15 or whatever that number was. But that being said, I bet you if there was transparency and there was negotiations, every confederation and every nation would have been on board, because they would have negotiated like a flat fee of like $80 million or something crazy, or like $100 million to not only like maybe it's a couple hundred to each confederation, but every nation that's a part of FIFA would have got like $100 million flat, something crazy, like that.
Yeah, I agree. The last bit of the statement's a little bit out there as well. Is Enzo, we must start to use some of the money that's idled, the $5 billion in the FIFA's bank account. That's staggering in itself. To deliver the kickstart, the grassroots wider game in each of the 211 countries of FIFA, but we don't need to sell the family silver to pay for it. This is a victory for the whole game, but it must not be the end of the story. The proposal is gone. The task of rebuilding trust in FIFA has only just begun. Steve, the last bit there, we don't need to sell the family silver to pay for it, where there's $5 billion sitting in a FIFA bank account. A, what is FIFA doing all that money? And B, look, before we do, move on to our last subject. We just round off this FIFA thing. I think, Steve, in a way, with that little dig, family silver, does that prove that people are ahead of sports organizations like FIFA, like UEFA, are not in the reality of the real world? They're in their own reality. They're in their own fantasy land where they think everything is rosy, everything is fine. We don't have to worry about anything. But the people that are running the associations like the FA or the Irish FA or other organizations can see some of the game is struggling in some parts of the world. Serie A is struggling. La Liga is struggling. The French league is struggling. The World Cup wants to be expanded to another 64-team tournament. Are some of these people living in fantasy lands that they've lost reality of what the game is really like?
I think it's incredibly hypocritical that they would use the term family silver, because let's understand that UEFA has family silver itself. It's called the Euros. Each league has the family silver as well too. It's their individual top flights. CONCACAF has family silver, and the only thing that FIFA. So imagine this, okay? Now imagine there's an estate. Like there was this rich guy that died with, like, I don't know, let's just say $1 billion worth of his estate. And FIFA became the trustee of that estate. Okay. So FIFA is now the overseer of this estate. And within this estate, they have family silver. And essentially what they were trying to do was, allow somebody to come in and take stewardship of the family silver. And now, and they were going to sell the rights to that, the rights of, the commercial rights to that silver, but mainly the silver was going to stay in the estate. The funny thing about this is UEFA has the exact same family silver that every 4 years, they also do the exact same thing with the silver. They commercialize that silver. It's called the Euros. The English FA or the Premier League has that silver as well too. Every single league does it. Every single league has a set of family silver that they absolutely commercialize to the full extent of which they can commercialize. Me personally, I think it's extremely hypocritical for the pot to call the kettle black here.
I do, and I think UEFA have a lot of answered questions to ask for themselves. I think you look at the expanded, more football being played in Europe. You've got the Club World Cup Championship now, which is basically a mini World Cup. I just, every year there seems to be something playing in the summer. Players don't get breaks like they used to.
Correct.
And now you look at the World Cup, they're only getting a 3-week holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you supposed to recharge your batteries after playing a long season? You're playing in a tournament as well. How are you supposed to recharge? You need a month off, at least a month to recover, recuperate.
Yeah, most likely
also but you think in that as well, Steve, you gotta keep fit as well in that time as well. I feel that football in itself, just very quickly, sorry, Steve, football in itself, I think is killing itself with all these extra tournaments and that. And I think the game me grew up watching, where we got a World Cup every 4 years, a European Championships every 2 years, and we knew one every summer out and then 4 years, there'd be no football. But now there seems to be something every summer. And football's killing its own goose, if I'm being honest.
The interesting thing is, if you're a player that is a part of your national team and you're playing in the championship, we'll just do the two divisions in England. Let's say that for instance, I'll give you a good example, right? There's been an influx of American players that have now gone into the championship. So let's say that you're playing for a team in the championship that has promotion expectations. You're playing 48 games in the championship, on top of the fact that you're going to be in cup competitions, and at least in the championship you're guaranteed at least 3 games in each cup competition before you go out. Well, that's 6 games right there. So you have 48. That's now 54. But if you're a part of the national team, and now that we're in a Nations League, we're in the Nations League era, you have starting in March, you have the Nations League semifinal, final in June. Depending on what year you fall in, you have the Gold Cup in the United States, and that is a solid month of competition starting in late June. You have a couple warm up matches, and then you actually have the tournament. Then in September, Nations League starts up again for the next calendar year. November, again, it's Nations League quarterfinal. And it's like you're talking about an extra, depending on if you're a part of all of this, this is going to be an extra 10 games on your schedule. So now it's 62 games that you're playing in a full calendar year. In a World Cup, you're now on top of all of that international competition. Now you have an expanded World Cup from 48 teams to 64. So now all of a sudden it's an extra 8 games tagged onto that. And so now you're playing 70 games in a calendar year. If you're in the Premier League and you're a Champions League team, not only do you have a 38 game schedule, but you also have your domestic competitions. And if you're a very good team, that's going to take you I think in order to win a competition, that's 8 games all the way through. Both competitions, that's 16 games. If you make deep runs, if you make anywhere between 12 to 16 games, right there, that what is that? 38 plus 12, that's 50 right there. And then if you're on international duty, you have at least 10 more games. Right there is going to be 70. And if you're in a World Cup, now you're pushing it to 80.
Yeah. And then how long does that World Cup take to run? Because a World Cup has to go from 1 month, from a month to a month. So
correct.
Are you looking to run it over a 2-month thing? Because
so it's going to be June and July. It's going to be June and July, and by the time your World Cup is over, your club is already in its preseason. So you're going to get 2-3 weeks off before you have to return. It's like, I'm guaranteeing you right now, Derma, that we are going to see a rash of season-ending injuries happen before the start of seasons, post World Cup, before the start of seasons, because the body has been pushed to an intense limit, to the point where you're going to see a lot more ACL injuries. You're going to see a lot more hamstring tears, right? We're going to see debilitating injuries to some of the game's biggest stars.
I don't mean to sound morbid here, right, Steve? I really don't. But will we see a player collapse? You look at Christian Eriksen. We know he had a heart problem, but when do we see a player collapse on the field due to exhaustion? And his body's going to give out on him because of all the extra games he's playing. That the body says, enough is enough here. I cannot take any more. Will that then, Steve, make the people in these organizations wake up? I don't think it will. I think money is king. Money is king. Big up to
it's going to be. I was going to say it's going to be up to the clubs to rotate, right? So, for instance, like Spurs did, I thought Spurs did a fantastic job of leaving certain players at Hotspur Way for their Australian tour, right? Like they were on their 3-week break post World Cup, but instead of meeting them in Australia, they just said, just report to Hotspur Way. Like we'll see you when we get back. You know what I mean? It's like it's not imperative. So essentially, they're getting an extra 3 weeks on top of the 3 weeks they got. And they'll rejoin their club essentially to the last couple friendlies against Hoffenheim before the season starts, right? So at the very least, at least a club can manage the minutes coming off a World Cup break, where maybe they rotate out the first couple cup competitions to begin the season. And if for instance, Spurs aren't in European play, and so they can rotate a certain amount of players the first month of the season for extra rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they can. But look, it's going to be interesting. We will keep you. We'll probably talk about it more next week, and when we're on your channel, Steve. Sure. Let's welcome a few more people in. Big up to SSB. He says, I think the issue that was nobody was advised on it. Also having a commissioner. I can get the point. That's a good point. I think Steve did make that point that if UEFA was told about it and they were transparent, would there be this massive outcry? I doubt it. Real Madrid put out a statement going against FIFA today. I haven't seen it, but I will look for it. Big up to Wenger wanted to work up every 2 years. I mean, that wasn't going to work. That's just pie in the sky. He's an Arsenal manager. What do you expect? They always speak pie in the sky down at that South London club.
Well, he's also in a position where he has influence, right? And he's also set to make a lot of money as well too. And so you can understand why why Arsene Wenger wants it every 2 years.
Yeah. Big up to Iceman. He says 100% need 2 months off to recharge the battery.
Yeah.
So absolutely. There will be a time when players say we're busting along for minimum rewards. Absolutely. Just last topic, Steve, Tottenham. We've ended the season tour. We're now a good win yesterday, by the way, for the boys. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for everyone who joined in. I apologize for my OBS packing up at the worst possible time. And I don't know how I fixed it. I just pressed a load of buttons on the OBS and suddenly it came back to life. So I don't know what I did. I think it's been a successful tour, Steve. I think for player morale, for the team, for brotherhood.
Yeah.
I think there's been good results. It showed yesterday that Spurs are not a pushover anymore, the way we came back with 10 men. I know it's pre-season, but I think yesterday was a morale-boosting win. I've been having a lot of discussions over the last couple of weeks, Steve, last week or so, about our striker position on our forward line. Now, I know Savinho's going to happen. He's coming to Tottenham. We know apparently there's rumours we're putting a bid for Osherman. And the Rashford, there's been links with Rashford. But Dom Solanke and Richarlison. Now, I did a poll last night saying which one would you keep? If you had to keep one, who would you keep? And the vote said they would keep Richie. If you had to keep one, Steve, who would you keep? Richie or Solanke?
I would keep Solanke because me personally, I think he's a good finisher. I think the issue last year was he was pretty much out for 3/4 of the season due to injury last year. And so me personally, I just don't think he really ever got going, because the season before he was a 15-goal scorer. And when you look at what he does outside of being on the ball and what he's asked to do, he's asked to press high. He's asked to come low to take touches. And essentially organize the hold-up play, which is something that Richie doesn't do. Richie is one of those fox-in-the-box types of strikers where if you have good service, Richie's going to be able to score some goals. But I firmly believe that Dominic Solanke has the profile of striker that Roberto De Zerbi absolutely likes, just for the style and the way that he plays. And especially when it comes to long ball, he can go up, he can bring it down, he can hold it off a defender, and then he can progress the ball while he makes a run off the shoulder into the box, right? The biggest issue with Solanke is he hasn't really had that great of service, right? Which is where Tonali and Fernandez will actually come in huge for Dominic Solanke. The other issue that I have is the fact that you're bringing in the same profile of player like Savinho as what you already have in Mohamed Kudus, right? You don't necessarily have that great of service in the box. Both don't even score goals. And so from that standpoint, I think you're missing something, because goals should have been the priority. Goals 100% should have been the priority. And if you bring in Victor Osimhen, okay, that's actually not terrible, but it still doesn't address the wing position, which is why I preferred Cody Gakpo over a guy like Savinho, because Savinho, for as pacey as he is, doesn't necessarily take on defenders really all that well, doesn't necessarily create space. We know he doesn't score goals. And so my biggest fear is that we're going to be looking for a left winger again in January, and we're going to be looking for a left winger again next summer, where we could just address this right away and bring in a guy like Cody Gakpo, because he's good for 10-9, 10-10 every single season. So at least you have a proven Premier League winger in Cody Gakpo.
Yeah. No, look, there's a lot there. So look, firstly, I'm going to push back on the Solanke bit. All right. I understand what you're saying. You make very good points to that, right? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just getting a message, so I'm just making sure it's not breaking news. Just give us 2 seconds. Sorry. Oh yeah, I will do. I don't think Solanke's... look, for me, I was Thomas Solanke. I understand your point, what you're making, right?
I just sent you a message too.
Yeah, I did. Have you got a new WhatsApp? Yeah, I saw that.
No. Yeah, you were like, I got to check my message, so I just shot you a message real quick too.
It was actually from the boss. I got a Facebook from the boss, so that's what I was checking. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I like that. That is very good, Steve, to be fair.
I thought I'd disrupt your train of thought one more time.
You did. Once I mentioned I'm going to push back on Solanke, suddenly comes the message in. That's it. I'm going to make him forget.
It's funny.
No, I get what you're saying about Solanke, right? I always have to think, when he was signed, me and Tequila were doing the show that day, and we've both felt underwhelmed by the signing. Okay. We knew he had that great season at Bournemouth. Okay. But he never really hit the ground running at Tottenham. Yes, I will grant you he's had a lot of injuries and he's had an injury hit time. I will grant you that. That is true. But when a player comes to a manager and said, sorry, boss, I can't play in the North London derby because I got a sore throat. I'm sorry. I sort of leave it there. Because you look at Archie Gray and Bergville, both wanted, Xavi as well, both wanted to carry on. Even Xavi had an ACL. And he says, no, I want to get back on the pitch. I want to help my teammates. Solanke's a great striker, but I don't think he's a top-level striker. He's a striker, I think, for the middle to the end of the Premier League. Now, saying that, I am always open to compromise. I'm always open to meet people halfway. If he does get the service, can he become a top-end striker under De Zerbi? Yes, but he's shown me nothing in the first couple of preseason games to prove to me that he's going to be effective for us. He was very alone yesterday. First half hour, I didn't know he was on the pitch. Now, can you legislate a player for 45 minutes against Chelsea and 45 minutes against Milton Keynes? Probably not. You probably need to start the season. Do we need a new striker? Hell yeah, we do. We need a 15, 20 goal striker. About Savinho, look, I agree with you. Savinho does have his lackless, but I think under De Zerbi coaches that into him. I think De Zerbi makes him a better player. Would I like Gakpo? Yes, I would. I'm going to put a player into the melting pot. I don't want Osimhen at the football club. Because he is a decent striker, but I don't like his attitude. And I don't want him coming in and upsetting the dressing room where there seems to be harmony now. That's why getting rid of a Romero and players like that are sort of oil in the ointments that everyone's together. I go for an Ollie Watkins. He's a Premier League striker. B, we know he can score more than 15 goals a season. And C, I think he would hit the ground running at Tottenham. Where are you on strikers like that, Steve? Or are you so sure that Solanke, and if we did get an Osimhen, that Osimhen wouldn't be this oil in the ointment that I think he could be?
That's a very good question. I tend to agree with you, but that being said, he's been outcast to the Turkish Super League, and so if he hasn't been humbled after essentially being a football outcast to Turkey, then I don't think I can help you at that stage. But here's what I will say: I'm gonna push back a little bit on Dominic Solanke, because number one, is he Erling Haaland? Is he Harry Kane? Of course not. Those are top level strikers, but there really isn't any one step below those type of strikers. It is the very top best strikers, and then it's everybody else. And the thing about strikers is, if you're a 15 to 20 goal striker, teams are not readily ready to give up those players because they can't necessarily replace that production. That's why you never see a lot of good strikers that are going to be available. So you have to pick and choose which strikers are going to be good for your system and that you think actually have something left in the tank that's going to be that you potentially can coach them or even create a 25 to 30 goal striker in the aggregate, right? That's kind of what Spurs are trying to look at here, right? So for instance, right, 2 years ago when Solanke made his debut with Spurs, he started the season with I think it was the injured toe. He was out for a few weeks. He kind of dealt with niggling injuries throughout his first season, but still managed to score 15 goals. Yeah. Last year, he was out for a good chunk of the season because he was injured, never really got going. But do I think Dominic Solanke can still chip in with anywhere between 13 to 16 goals in a season? I do. And if you can find somebody else who's just like that, right, who is a potential 16 to 20 goal scorer, well, right there, you've gotten 30 goals from your striker position in the aggregate, right? And that's exactly what you need. So if that is an Ollie Watkins, I'd be for it. If that's a Fernan Torres in Barcelona, I'm all for it. I do have concerns about Victor Osimhen, But again, that's only 50. That to me, that's only 50% of the puzzle, because you actually have to have wingers that are capable of scoring goals as well too. That's why I've been banging the drum for Said El-Mala, who is with FC Köln in Germany, the 20-year-old who is just getting better every single goddamn year. I think last year he was a double-digit goal scorer, double digits in assists. And for those that are like, we still have to replace Sonny, it's like, there you go. Because when Sonny came over from the Bundesliga, he was an unknown quality, and he was able to develop into what we know and love. That is Said El-Mala, if you ask me. But again, the thing about Savinho is, if you remember, when he came from Spain to Manchester City, he was coming off a very good season in Spain.
Yeah.
But once he got to City, Pep Guardiola took one look at him and said, he's not good enough to compete at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And when Pep Guardiola got injuries on that left-hand side and he had to rotate, Savinho didn't start. He was the backup to the backup. He rarely got playing time. And when he did feature, he wasn't really all that solid. And so that's my big concern, is that we're bringing in somebody that's not good enough to compete at the Premier League level. That's my biggest issue. And if Pep Guardiola is the one that wouldn't play him because he deemed him not good enough, then why would Roberto De Zerbi, like, if you're bringing him in to be a backup where he's playing, like once we get into the cup competitions and like maybe you're going to rotate, okay, I'm fine with that. I don't like the price tag of 65 million pounds or plus, because that's essentially meaning you're bringing somebody in to be a starter. I just don't think he's going to be good enough, and I don't think he's going to produce enough in order to actually help the striker position. And me personally, I just think there's better out there.
I agree with you, Steve, on that. But look, that's a good way to end it, Steve. Another good podcast. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this one. It's been of course you can.
Can I push back on one thing?
Yeah.
I got, and it's a comment here in the chat from Sniper's Dream 26. And by the way, Sniper, I think that you've had some very good points, but he says if this deal had gone through, it would have been the Americanization of football, and I'm pushing back on this. Because every single league and every single club in Europe is all about the commercial revenue to their club. Yes, it was modeled off of American sports teams, but to sit here and blame this on America, or say this is the Americanization, when our club, Tottenham Hotspur, do the exact same thing as any professional sports team in the United States. They are all about their commercial revenue. There's a reason why they're the top 10 in the Deloitte Money League for total gross revenue. It's because they brand the cockerel. They are a global club now. And so that's the thing. It's like, to sit here and say that this would be the ultimate Americanization. It's like, come on, man. Every club in Europe, every big club in Europe does it. Every single big league in Europe does it. And it's like, to sit here and say that FIFA would be like, it would be the Americanization. It's like, come on, man. Let's kind of understand exactly where we are in global football. Everybody is all about their commercial revenue.
Look, where I agree with that, I do agree with you. I think what he's trying to say is, I think it was based off the model of American. Sure. I agree with everything you say, because if you look at our club and you look at every other Premier club, it's based off the model. Look, let's be frank. America come out with the best model how to make money out of sports.
Sure.
With commercialization. Sure. So to be fair, I think
I understand what he's saying.
Yeah. But I do agree with that. Is the wording of it, and I do agree with that. That maybe
to me it sounds like he's blaming America for certain things that have happened this summer. And it's like, listen, by the way, if this was negotiated with the U.S. Soccer Federation, we wouldn't have had hydration breaks. But it wasn't. It was Fox Sports. Was the one that drove hydration breaks. Now here's the thing, though: is it going to be a part of the next World Cup? Probably. But the one thing that I will say is, like, it is, because FIFA is going to sell their rights, and it's going to happen again. But the reality is, like,
the Premier League.
No. The Premier League is not going to do it. UEFA is not going to do it. Common Bowl with Copa America is not going to do it. By the way, neither is Major League Soccer. They're not doing hydration breaks either,
for that.
So
I'm going to start watching Major League Soccer, by the way. I've bought me Apple. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to pick a team, and I'm going to start following it. So
I would, by the way, I would say watch Seattle, but we're actually having an absolute howler coming off the World Cup break. We've lost 6 in a row now.
Do you know what? I think I might pick Seattle as my team. There's a bit of Tottenham there. You and Jack are both Jack's from Seattle. Do you know you're from Seattle as well? So there you go. I think I'll pick Seattle. Steve, where can people find you, bud? Again, and this podcast now will be on Steve's channel next week.
Correct.
We're like the World Cup. We change it every year. We're a bit like FIFA.
You can here. This is what I'm going to do for you guys right now. Let me just go ahead and copy this.
Put your link in
here, and I will put the link in the chat right there.
Yeah.
Boom. And this is where you can find me on YouTube at Stateside Footy 27. By the way, head over there because I believe tonight I'm going to have a show as I break down some of the upcoming prospects for the U.S. men's national team. Prospects that will be breaking through in the next 4 years that'll be a part of the 2030 World Cup. It should be a fun stream. So that is happening tonight. No MLS live stream this week because quite frankly, I missed the window as they're going into Leagues Cup now. So we'll definitely do a lot of Leagues Cup live streams coming up. But there's a lot of good coverage, not just with the U.S., but also for Tottenham Hotspur. Yesterday, I had Harry Scarf of Scarfy Spurs Talks, as we had a nice little conversation yesterday. That is also up as well, too. But the channel is growing, Dermatron. The channel is absolutely growing, and I do want to thank those that have subbed, those that will sub. You won't be let down, man. You won't be let down. Good coverage.
Yeah, do get over there. I've known Steve now for a good couple of years. He helped me out a lot on this channel. He's does his own great channel as well, absolutely. And I've been on there a few times too. I do watch you, Steve. I may not comment all the time, but I'm always watching when you're on at the night time. So I do enjoy your coverage, guys. If you can do me a favor, so go ahead.
I was going to say that you are most welcome for the upcoming show as we do a season breakdown for Spurs, what we're expecting, what we feel like this team is going to be able to accomplish. And I would absolutely love to have you part of that stream.
Yeah, send me the link and I'll be there, buddy. Yep. I will be there. Right. Guys, also do get over Steve's channel, but also get over here as well. Guys, I'm putting the redirect in. If you can get over to JSY Talks Football, please put THFC Raid as a redirect. I know that's where she's on. So guys, if you are here, do get over to JSY Talks Football. I will get the link for you, her channel link. So give me a few minutes if you can. So do give me, let me get the link for her. So I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. God, technology. Oh God, it gives a load. Anyway, that's a link.
There you go.
Yeah, press that link. Do THFC Raid if you can. I really would appreciate it. And guys, do like and subscribe here. We're on the road to 3K. We'd love to get there for the start of the season. We're only 142 away from 3K. So let's get there for the start of the season. But guys, thank you so much, Steve. Again, looking forward to next week, bud. As we retake this World Cup stream to America. We're going back to USA. USA 2026 again. But do get over. What time are you live tonight, Steve?
I think I'm going to be right at I think it's going to be 6 o'clock Eastern, and I believe that is going to be 10 o'clock UK time. So
it will get over there. Guys, I'm back on at 6 with James and Billy talking all things Tottenham and talking all things transfers. And then I'm over in Jester's at 8:45 to sit and watch Liverpool versus Leeds pre-season. But guys, on that bombshell, thank you all for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on both channels. And whatever you do, come on, you Spurs. In De Zerbi, we trust.